Well, good morning, everyone. Today is the day that I'm starting the challenge. Last week was all about training. And so my challenge is, for those of you who don't know, is 10,000 steps in a day, every day, from today through Thursday, World Polio Day, October 24th. It is an amazing, beautiful Saturday morning. And I'm just really grateful that I can walk 10,000 steps. Now, I'm physically able and capable of walking 10,000 steps. I've got my pound the pavement for polio shirt on. I'm physically capable, but my schedule doesn't allow it. So last week was training, and I didn't do it. I walked. I tried to walk, but I did not reach my goal. The most steps that I walked was 7,200. So today, now it's Saturday, so I'll be watching football and I will have more time to walk around the block, which is about 3,000 steps for me. But on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, during the work week, it's going to be a real challenge. And what I want to do is I don't want to end here. I want this to be the beginning of something for me. And I'm doing this for 3 reasons. I'm doing this, as you know, to get out of my chair. And even last week, in order to hit the 7,500 steps or 7,200 steps, during a webinar, I had to stand up and I was just marching in place. I was just moving. I had to move. Otherwise, there was really no way I was going to be able to walk that many steps. So we'll see how this goes. But this is my challenge. So the first reason is to get me out of my chair. The second is to raise money for polio. We have, and I'm so excited, we've already raised $550. My goal is $1,000, so we have $450 left to go. If you'd like to donate, I've got the link in this social media post, so please click there. You can also donate by check as well, and just send me a message, and then I'll let you know how to do that. But I don't even $10, $50, $100, whatever you want. I know times are tough for everyone nowadays, so whatever you can spare would be amazing. The third reason I've decided to do this is to educate people on polio, including myself. If you're like me, you grew up where you remember taking the vaccine, but it was with all the other vaccines that you took, right? So I was born in the 60s, and the vaccine was on the market in the 50s. So by the time we were going through our pediatrician visits, they would, the vaccine was already available. And so today, if you have kids and you go to their pediatrician, it's just a normal vaccine that they get that actually saves their life, like most vaccines. So, but I won't go into that. But anyway, I wanted to really do some research on the vaccine. Like, who was it that created it, and what was that like in the U.S.? I was very surprised to hear. So Rotary is, if you know this, I am a member of the Rockton Roscoe Rotary Club. I'm very active. I've been a member since 2003. I'm also the district governor-elect. So I became the district governor of District 6420, which is the north central part of the state, from Harvard over to Iowa and down to Toluca, LaSalle, Peru, that area, and Walnut and Streeter and all in there. And anyway, it's an amazing district, and I'm really looking forward to being the district governor next year. My point is that in 2003 I became a member, but I didn't become a Rotarian until 2019, quite honestly, and that's a whole nother story I won't get into. But Rotary is an amazing organization, and one that, if you're interested, you need to give me a call or just Google it, because it's crazy amazing. And so in the 80s, quite frankly, polio, so the vaccine was established or created in the 1950s, but in the 80s, it was still rampant around the world, and particularly in the Philippines. So we started in the Philippines, and Rotary got heavily involved in it and has been on this march no pun intended as I'm walking here, but on this march to eradicate the disease around the world. And if you've heard me talk before, you know that there's a couple countries that still remain, or areas of the world, I shouldn't say countries, but Pakistan, Afghanistan in particular, but also in Gaza. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that as the week goes on. But today I wanted to really talk about the vaccine. So as I was searching about the vaccine and just researching about it, there's an article on Rotary.org that if you're interested, you should read the whole article because it's pretty cool. I'm going to read just part of it and give you the Cliff Notes, or the Spark Notes, I think is what they call them today. Cliff Notes back in my day about the vaccine. So Dr. Peter Salk, who's the president of the Jonas Salk Legacy Foundation in La Jolla, California. So he is the son of the man, the doctor, who created the vaccine. So here's what he says. He says, Dr. Jonas Salk, his father, developer of the first polio vaccine, was born in New York City on October 28th, 1914. And that was exactly 3 months after the start of World War I. Now, from his earliest days, he wanted to help humanity. He just knew that was what he wanted to do. And his son goes on to say that he really wanted to go to law school, but his mom would joke that, you can't beat me in a debate, so I don't think being a lawyer is really what you should be doing. Anyway, through school, he, took a chemistry class and just got interested in medicine. So after college, he went to the New York University the University College of Medicine, and he knew he wanted to get into research. So one day, or one class anyway, there was a doctor, a professor who came in and spoke about vaccines, and that really intrigued him. So he explained that through doctors, they could chemically inactivate toxins to vaccinate against bacterial diseases such as diphtheria and tetanus. They could not use inactivated viruses to immunize against viral diseases such as influenza or polio, because protection against infection with viruses required that the body experience an actual infection with the living virus. Okay, so as many of you know, traditional vaccines, again, I am not a doctor, I am not a research, so please take this as an amateur person telling you this, but most vaccines are those that they inject the living virus into your body, and then that's when the antibodies are created. So this doctor had said that that's really the only way to do it. So therefore, we can't develop vaccines for influenza or for polio, which is quite funny in 2024 because we do have flu vaccines as well. Anyway, that particular philosophy did not make any sense to Dr. Jonas Salk, and so he started inquiring, and there was no real answers. The answer was, well, that's just because that's the way it is, and that just didn't sit with him very well. So after medical school, he took a 2-year clinical internship. I'm just trying to walk a little carefully here as I'm walking, and people are out and about, and here I am talking on this video, and it's quite funny because they're looking at me like I'm crazy. Anyway, following medical school, he took a 2-year clinical internship at New York's Mount Sinai Hospital, and he worked with Dr. Thomas Francis Jr., who was the head of this particular department at the University of Michigan. And he had known this doctor previously. Anyway, so they had worked alongside together, and they successfully created a vaccine for influenza, utilizing a chemically inactivated virus that was introduced for use by the Army at the end of World War II. Okay, so he's not accepting what the one particular doctor said or professor said, and he's proving that you can create a vaccine for these types of viruses, bacterial viruses. So anyway, in 1947, this is where it gets good. In 1947, seeking to head a laboratory of his own, his father moved to the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. He took charge of creating the virus research laboratory, and with his growing interest in polio, received a grant for polio research from the National Foundation for Infantile paralysis. Now, during Peter's childhood, so Peter is Dr. Salk's son, so during his childhood, polio epidemics became an increasing global issue, right? So this was worldwide issue. And he can remember his parents not allowing the boys, him and his siblings, to visit, their favorite amusement park when they were on vacation out of fear of becoming infected. Now, I mean, think about that. That's COVID in 2020, right? We were locked up. So it was the same type of fear, same type of concern that we were going through, that he and his family went through back in the 1940s. So on another occasion, their family accompanied his father to a polio meeting at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. And he saw a girl there. So Peter, the son, he saw a girl there in the swimming pool who had been disabled by polio. And because it was around the same age, that was a very lasting impact that had on him. So during all this time, his father and the team, worked to develop this vaccine on polio. And the first human studies with the experimental vaccine was conducted at the D.T. Watson Home for Crippled Children outside of Pittsburgh. These tests included children who had already experienced some form of paralysis due to polio, because they had already been infected by at least one of the 3 types of polio virus. There was no danger to them. So because they had already had the polio, there wasn't any reoccurring issues that they would have. So they used them as, I guess, test subjects, which is kind of scary, but I get it. So they were injected with the chemically inactivated virus of that same type that they had had. And it turned out that when these children were injected with the inactivated virus, their antibodies against the virus were boosted. So antibodies in the bloodstream were all that was needed to prevent the virus from traveling to the brain and spinal cord and killing the nerve cells that control muscle movement. So that's what happens with polio. When the information was confirmed, my father knew that the vaccine he and his team had been working on should be a success. Okay. Now, I know almost done with this story, but I think it's really important. So I'm hoping that you're hanging in there with me. I'm almost home. Now, at one point early on, this is the part that kind of got me. His father tested the experimental vaccine on himself and his lab workers. And one day, it was their turn, the children's turn. Peter and his 2 brothers, ages 9, 6, and almost 3 years old, they had to have the injection as well. So you can imagine he wasn't very pleased about that. But can you imagine? I mean, his dad was so sure that this was going to work that he injected his children with the vaccine as well. So he goes on to say, I stood there miserable and looking out the window, my arm held out and awaiting the injection, and then something miraculously happened. I didn't feel the needle. It didn't hurt, unlike every other shot I'd ever had. And for that reason, that day is burned in my memory forever. 2 years later, on April 12, 1955, his father joined Dr. Francis at a press conference at the University of Michigan, and they announced that the vaccine would be available. Wow, I went right into my face. Would be available for the public consumption. In 1955, more than 10 million children received 1 or more injections of the Salk vaccine. Within 1 year, polio cases and deaths in the United States had been nearly halved, a trend that continued and made a vision of polio eradication possible. So like I said, if you want to know more, if you want to really dig into the story of it and read Dr. Salk's books, just Google polio vaccine, go to Rotary.org. But it's pretty awesome and it's pretty cool. And because of that, we've been able to save millions and millions of people. So as I mentioned that I'm a member of the Rockton Roscoe Rotary Club, and I'm a member of Rotary International. I am a Rotarian. And what I have not mentioned is that with every dollar donated to the Rotary Foundation for polio, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation donates $2. So for every dollar the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation donates $2. So for my $1,000 that we are donating, we actually will be donating $3,000. So please, whatever you can afford to give, please click on the link. If you want to write a check, that's fine too. And just send me a message by Facebook or LinkedIn or however you know me, by email, by text, whatever. And I'll give you the details on how to write a check. But let's do this. Let's walk this 10,000 steps every day together. Let me know who's going to join me. Even if you can just get the 10,000 steps one day or 10,000 steps in a accumulation of days, whatever it is, I don't care. And if you could donate whatever it is that you're able, remember that it'll turn into $1 turns into $3. So thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you have a fantastic Saturday. And I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, just to give you a little sneak peek, tomorrow I'm going to go down to Swedish American Hospital, UW Health System. They have an iron lung, and they have a polio exhibit that I'm going to show you. All right, everyone, have a great day.